Okay, so just a few things I want to touch on. If you saw my series Appledore, I gave a few examples of subliminal manipulation, which to all intents and purposes seems primarily to be geared towards opening stargates within the third eye, to create realities in the favour of the elite. So to expand on that a little bit, I thought I'd share a few more examples of this type of sorcery. And it's called sorcery because they're using the source to achieve it. First of all, Dusk Till Dawn. Now, you can argue that Tarantino called it that because the bar with all the vampires in it is open dusk till dawn, and therefore it is aptly titled Dusk Till Dawn. Okay, fair enough, but if you peel away the veneer, there's something else going on here, and here's why. Dusk Till Dawn seems to be a reference to the new Ion of Horus, so from darkness into the light, in other words, the Golden Dawn. Throughout the film, you've got this bizarre underlying reptilian theme. It's mainly subtextual, but at the same time, you can't really miss it. You've got the brothers Seth and Richie Gecko, Gecko being the key word there, dressed in the Saturnian black. Seth is the Egyptian Satan, aka Saturn, and Richie, or Richard, can be abbreviated as Dick. So there's a phallic connection, and phallics relate to Osiris, so as always this is open to interpretation. But carrying on, the Geckos kidnap the Fuller family in order to cross the border to get into Mexico, so they can go to a place called El Rey, which is Saturn Ra, Israel minus Isis, possibly alluding to the New Jerusalem, aka the Golden Dawn or the new Ion of Horus. The Fuller family consists of faithless preacher Jacob, and if we connect that Jacob with the Jacob from the Old Testament, whose sons made the 12 tribes, he was actually given the name Israel. And it is from Jacob that we get Jacob's ladder. So Jacob is Israel, and he has a son called Scott and a daughter called Kate. Interestingly, Kate is played by Juliette Lewis, who is the daughter of Jeffrey Lewis, who played Mike Ryerson in Salem's Lot. Now, if you watched Appledore, you'll know that Salem's Lot refers to the New Jerusalem, or the Golden Dawn, or Ion of Horus. Before they can go to El Rey, they first have to stop at the Titty Twister. Why? Because if you want to go to El Rey, you need to go through the Spiraling Vortex, or the Chief Cornerstone. Inside the Titty Twister, the walls are adorned with the male aspect of the Freemasonic compass. Now, the Freemasonic compass means a lot of things, and if you've seen Marco Rodin's work, then you'll know that it has a lot to do with the number 9. But it is also the seal of Saturn. Another symbol inside the bar is this, the swirling cube, which is a variation of the swastika, or the swirling Xbox. There are various different Aztec symbols and artifacts, and a whole lot of serpent symbolism. At one point we see 3 lines on the wall. The 3 lines are a Taoist symbol for the maximum state of higher consciousness. You can see here the 3 solid lines at the top of the yin-yang, which in I Ching, I being the 9th letter in the alphabet, represent from the top down heaven, humanity and earth. Unbroken they are yang, unbroken they are yin. I Ching works in a system of 64, and this is because in binary each number is double its last value, so 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64. At this level, binary appears to be dualistic, but the duality is an illusion, as all things work in threes. Numerologically, 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64 becomes 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5, 1. And this pattern of the 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5, 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5, 1 continues infinitely in binary. However, if we add 1 and 2, we get 3. Add the 2 and the 4, we get 6. Add the 4 to the 8, we get 12, which is 3. Add the 8 to the 7, and we get 15, which is 6. And the 7 to the 5 would give us 12, which is 3. So throughout the 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5, there is an ongoing and infinite pattern of 3, 6, 3, 6, 3, 6. The 3 and the 6 are the yin and the yang, and since 3 add 6 is 9, the equilibrium, or middle pillar, between the yin and the yang is 9, meaning the duality is in reality a trinity. So we have, for instance, the trinity of Osiris, Isis and Horus. Then there's the Kabbalistic tree of life with its 3 pillars, the 3 pillars on the Freemasonic checkerboard, the Enron logo, the Dell logo, and notice that the Dell logo is square shaped because the Xbox is the spiraling vortex of duality, the black and the white, but the controlling force, the 9, is the third aspect, the 0 point opened by the chief cornerstone. You have the fleur-de-lis, the Adidas logo, that goes for both the Adidas logos, and then there's this MC Escher painting, Day and Night. This man has another painting called Reptiles, make of that what you will. Here's Jay-Z's The Blueprint 3, and Blueprint 1 was released on 9/11/2001. As you can see, he's using the Taoist Yang Trinity symbol. So again, the yin-yang is the duality, and the third aspect, the controlling force, would be the 9. So according to Rodin, when the 9 is positive, the 3 and the 6 are both negative, and when the 9 is negative, the 3 and the 6 are both positive. So again, it is the controlling force. Now, forgive me for my somewhat abstract reasoning here, but if we apply this concept of the controlling force being the deciding factor of the polarity, be it negative or positive, I feel it could be applicable to the concept I used in Appledore of the balance versus the anti-balance. Now, bear with me here. If you look at a magnet, you have this blue and red polarity, the same with the standard coil, where you have the blue and the red being the in and the out of the electricity. So blue and red is a standard representation of the duality. You've got the blue pill versus the red pill. In Freemasonry you have the blue lodge and the red lodge. There are blue and red sine waves. And bring this full circle back to the 3 lions is the Korean flag with its blue and red yin-yang. Nassim Harriman has pointed out that the vacuum of our torus-shaped universe, when viewed from the top, is a yin-yang. Taking all this into account, the old Pepsi logo looks a lot like a kind of a yin-yang with the blue and the red. But what is the controlling force of this particular duality? Well, considering Pepsi could derive from Apep, who was an Egyptian Satan like Seth, I think we may have an answer. So we have the 3 broken lines of yin, perhaps balanced out by these male yang representing upward triangles, which also represent the element of fire, and Shiva, who is Saturn. The blue and the red are also seen at the entrance of the Titty Twister. Moving on, we have a scene where Santanico Pandemonium is introduced. Santanico basically means Satan, aka Saturn, and Pandemonium obviously relates to the Greek god Pan. Perhaps incidental, but probably not. Saturn's innermost moon is named after Pan, as Pan is a shepherd god, and the moon Pan, in its orbit of Saturn's A-ring, acts as a ring shepherd. Santanico Pandemonium appears to be the head vampire, so it is a matriarchal structure. She emerges, covered in Aztec serpent symbolism, with a giant snake, which is something Britney Spears once did while singing I'm a Slave for You. She comes down the pyramid-shaped steps and performs a hypnotic dance to glamour the onlookers. After all hell breaks loose, she sees some blood and transforms into a normal vampire. No, she turns into a reptilian. Now, I always thought there was something weird about this scene, the way she's killed, but that aside, I'm 99% certain that what I'm about to show you is a spell aimed directly at the viewer with an intention and a sigil designed to open up a stargate in our minds, manifest, or at least try to help manifest, a certain outcome. Now, Obviously, you can't pull something like this off if only 1 or 2 people are affected by the spell, which is why, like I said in Appledore, they use movies. The grander the scale of the vectors for the sigil magic, the more chance it'll work. Now, that being said, this particular spell is pretty dark. First of all, note the light spot. This spot resembles a bright star in the night sky. Notice how the bright spot is positioned in such a way that it appears to be in the east. There are no other bright spots, so clearly this would appear to be standing out for a reason of some kind. I'm gonna postulate that that spot represents the star Sirius. Sirius is of course known as the Dog Star and also the Eastern Star. According to Albert Pike, Sirius is interchangeable with the eye within the triangle, Isis and the pentagram. Sirius is basically kind of guiding force within the occult for the process of building Solomon's Temple. And Solomon's Temple, the Tower of Babel, Jacob's Ladder, all refer to raising the Kundalini and opening the third eye Stargate. Alice Bailey of the Theosophical Society said that Sirius is the foremost guiding force in achieving this. So Sirius is of the utmost importance with regards to opening third eye stargates. Now, keeping all this in mind, what Santanico Pandemonium says to Seth while he is down on the floor is of key importance in understanding what's going on here. What is significant is that she says the line, "Since you'll be my dog, your new name will be Spot." What they're doing here is subliminally associating the spot, which stands out clearly enough for your subconscious to pick up on, with the word dog. So in other words, they're letting you know on a subconscious level that that spot is the Dog Star, Sirius, you see. It's basic neuro-linguistic programming. Seth being on the floor is merely an excuse to set up the intention, and by intention I mean the intention of the spell. Santanico Pandemonium looks into the camera in reptilian form and says, "Welcome to slavery." So there's the intention aimed at the viewer. Note also what looks like a third eye type pattern on her forehead. Again, this is more suggestion to make sure that your subconscious gets the message. Next, Seth proclaims, "No thanks, I already had a wife," and shoots the light fixture above. This is where the spell takes place. The light fixture is hexagonal, as you can see, surrounding the hex being the key word, are 12 circular shaped objects, with a 13th in the centre, which reflects the 12 around the 13 principle in sacred geometry. The hexagon is of course also in 3D a cube. This is Stargate symbolism. It happens in a fast subliminal way, complete with the light emanating from the Stargate, or the cube vortex, as it hurtles down towards the viewer. It's important to note that by knowing and understanding this information, you have removed this particular spell's power to operate through you, meaning that these things only work if you're ignorant to them. The serpent symbolism in this film is vast and numerous, and it doesn't require any kind of arduous decoding to be seen. There is this particular pattern though, which you'll see on the bar that is locking the main entrance. The double wavy line or zigzag is the sign for Aquarius, aka the New Age or Ion. So again, the New Dawn or Golden Dawn. At one stage, Seth is leaning over Richie's corpse and he says, "You would have liked it in El Rey, you would have found peace." Interesting terminology. At the end of the film, we see a small pyramid-style structure surrounded by tyres. Now, it's hard to tell exactly how many, but it's likely to be 12. And there is an image on the small pyramid of what appears to be a goddess of some kind, in which case it is probably a moon goddess. The moon is shown during the film at full perigee, and the sole survivors are Seth, which is Saturn, and Kate. Kate is possibly an abbreviation of Hecate, the moon goddess. The camera pans out and it is revealed that the titty twister is on top of a pyramid, or ziggurat. So, my associating the twister with a vortex, which is synonymous with the chief cornerstone, is not so much of a stretch as it may seem. Now, at one stage in the film, a vampire is seen sporting a cap with the chief cornerstone featuring brand Caterpillar. Now, excuse my conjecture, but the word caterpillar could be a reference to the pillar of Hecate, otherwise known as the Hectarian. This pillar features the triple goddess in her three manifestations: the maiden, which means the virgin, the mother, and the crone. The name Kate literally means virginal, so it would appear that the character of Kate was the embodiment of the maiden. Whatever the case may be, I think someone is trying to tell you something here. Moving swiftly along, Cheech Marin has three separate roles in the film. One as the Border Patrol guy, another as the doorman at the titty twister, and last of all as Carlos. Now, the interesting thing is that in each of his roles, Cheech acts as a kind of a guard come escort. First he is the border guard who they have to get past in order to get into Mexico. Next he is the doorman who they have to get past to get into the titty twister, aka the vortex. And then, last but not least, he is Carlos, who Seth has to bargain with in order to get into El Rey, or the New Jerusalem, or Illumination. Cheech Marin is most famous for being one half of Cheech and Chong, who are known for smoking a whole lot of weed. Now, a name for weed of the highest quality is the chronic. And chronic is a word which derives from Kronos, in other words, Saturn. In the system of Thelema, before the adept can reach illumination, he must first get past Chronosome, who appears during the third ceremonial method of crossing the abyss. Chronosome occupies Binah on the Tree of Life. The planet of Binah is Saturn. As with any mystery school or fraternal order, Saturn is the last planet before higher consciousness. This is why Chronosome comes before higher consciousness. Saturn is Chronos, and therefore Chronosome, and since at this stage he gets past this, he must interpret all things as a sign, absolutely everything. In other words, there are no coincidences, only synchronicities. And synchronicity, Chronos, simply means Saturn's control over time-space. Cheech Marin was raised in Granada Hills. In early English, pomegranates, which mean seeded apple, were known as apple of Granada. This may have been after a confusion between the Latin granatus and the Spanish city of Granada. Nonetheless, pomegranates are a symbol of fertility and union, and can be seen behind the High Priestess on the veil. Once lifted, this veil leads to the Rainbow Bridge, in other words, illumination. On a final note, Dusk Till Dawn was released on January 19th, 1996, so that's 1/1996, which encodes 9/11. Not to mention the fact that George Clooney picked up a Saturn Award for his role in the film as Seth.